welcome to this Wednesday Word of Wisdom. Today I want to talk to you about how we keep ourselves regulated throughout the day. You see, every single day, without fail, there is going to be some difficulty, some trials, there's going to be some stress, there's going to be good moments, and there's going to be harder moments that we find ourselves in every single day. And what we want to be able to do for ourselves is sort of shift and change ourselves as our circumstances and our situations shift and change through the day, so that we can either be moving ourselves into a more productive state or cooling ourselves down so that we can be in a more productive state. Either way, what we want to be doing for ourselves is keeping ourselves in a zone that allows us to get things accomplished, to feel productive, to connect with others, rather than either being withdrawing or getting ourselves too amped up and potentially frustrated, angry, overstressed, overwhelmed, which then causes us again to withdraw or not really be present with our current circumstance or our current environment or the people who are around us. One of the first things that we really have to focus in on is the shift in energy that we might have as we go through each challenge or opportunity that comes our way. And the feelings that come up in those moments are going to either move us towards being dysregulated, or they're going to move us to that place of more intentionality, purpose, functionality. The way that our mind operates is that when we're kind of working in that kind of peak performance area, we've got all of the sort of functionality of our brain operating all at one time. So our cognitive thinking is present, it's focused, our emotion center is calm, but yet still has enough stress on it that it's still moving and motivated and excited to get things done. Because then what happens is that comes into our physical body, creating the actions that we take, which then leads to the results that we get in our life. Now, if we are too lethargic, sedentary, depressed, any of those kinds of pieces, we are going to feel that demotivation. We're not likely to pick ourselves up and to get things done because we just don't feel like it. Because again, those feelings go into our physical body, creating our actions, and therefore the results that we get in our lives. If we're far too amped up, if we're anxious, if we're worried, if we're angry, if we're overwhelmed, those emotions are going to come into our physical body as well. They're going to create actions that we take and results that we get in our life, whether for positive or for negative, that impact the information that we take in. And then that starts to become our self-fulfilled prophecies that we start to live out. Now, when we can start to become aware of what zone we might be finding ourselves in, we can name it. And when we name it, we can get a hold of it. Once we name it, then all of a sudden we recognize whether or not we need to be cooling ourselves down or amping ourselves up. Because on either side, outside of the productive space that we want to find ourselves in, that gives us that creativity and that excitement and that positivity in our lives, on the outside zones of that, what happens is that we need a shift in state. We need a shift in energy. And when we name it, we start to become aware of what it is and what energy shift we need to make in order to get ourselves back into that productive zone. By naming it too, one of the other things that comes up is we start to become aware of what our triggers are. what some of the triggers are that are going to shift our mental state, our emotional state, and that are going to shift our state, our emotional state, and allow us to become aware of, oh, okay, when this happens, I move this direction. When this happens, my emotions go this way. When this happens, I find myself feeling demotivated. And so that allows us to be a little bit more preemptive and know how I'm going to deal with those different situations that I might see coming up in my world. See, it was Carl Jung who said, until we make the unconscious conscious, it will rule our lives and we will call it fate. So rather than just letting our emotions dictate what our lives are going to look like, we can start to name them. We can start to become more aware of them. We can become aware of those triggers, which then allows us to make that change of state so that we are no longer just being guided solely by our feelings, by our emotions. And so when we go into that demotivated place, we know how to pick ourselves back up. We know that, okay, this is what I'm experiencing, but I don't have to stay here. I can do something about this. And honestly, movement is best. Even when we don't feel like it, movement is best. So whether we are on the low end where we have got low energy and we kind of feel like crud and we don't really want to do anything, when we pick ourselves up and we move, it shifts our mindset. It brings energy. Energy breeds energy. So when we create that energy, we move ourselves from that dysregulated state into that more productive state. And you know what? Even if we're in the top end where our energy level is too high, where we're dysregulated in terms of anxiety or anger or overwhelm, movement changes our mind. When you move your body, you change your mind. So even in that anger or that anxiety or that overwhelm, if you go for a walk, if you do jumping jacks, if you move your body, you change your mind and you can bring yourself back into that more productive state. See, even doing movement every single day, whether you're dysregulated or not, doing movement every day increases our bandwidth so that when we're triggered, it doesn't send us into a tailspin. It doesn't completely destroy the entirety of our day and those results that we're getting in our lives. And then we throw our hands up and we're like, forget this. I can't do this. This is the way my life always goes. And it doesn't have to go that way. Because when we get into that regular pattern of movement, we're continuously working on that change of state, and we start to take care of our physical body, but we're also taking care of our mind and our mental health at the very same time. The last thing that I wanted to talk to you about was just being able to recognize the different zones we find ourselves in through the day, because our energy does shift and change throughout the day. And when we can be aware of drops in energy or increases in energy through the day, we can start to become aware of what changes them. So there's, really the self-care, the biggest self-care pieces that can be the most important shifts that we can make in terms of regulating ourselves and shifting that zone, especially if it's a dysregulated zone. Like, are we hungry? Are we thirsty? Are we kind of tired? Do we need to move? Do we need some motivation through our social support network? Do we need some quiet time to refresh? What is it that we need in that moment that is going to shift us out of that dysregulated state and into that more productive place? Your success through your day is highly dependent upon your ability to be aware of what is happening in the unconscious realm of your world. Those zones of regulation where we can find ourselves just falling into and letting life just happen to us rather than being the designer of our own destiny, the designer of our day, and choosing what we're going to focus on and how we're going to keep ourselves in that focused place, so that at the end of the day, we can feel good, we can feel accomplished, we can feel positive, we can be ready to break through the barriers that are potentially holding us back. All right, you have yourself an amazing day, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye for now.